Well, the Ministry of Electronics and IT has come up with a really ambitious 1,000-day plan on how to make India into a trillion-dollar digital economy. And it's a great pleasure to have with us Rajeev Chandrasekhar, the Minister of State for Electronics, for IT, Skill Development, Entrepreneurship. It's a very, very ambitious portfolio that you've got. And all of them, in a sense, link with each other.
Right.
What are the key aspects of this 1,000-day plan? And what do you think will be some of the major challenges?
So thank you, Vikram, for having me on the show today. Look, I think there are two things which form kind of the backstory to this 1,000-day ambition. One is, of course, it is clear that since 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call to embed more and more technology into government and governance and our overall nation has really paid off, because during the COVID, the resilience that was shown by our country, our countrymen, our economy, has had a lot to do with the investments made pre-COVID in digital technology. So that is one backstory. The second aspect of it is that in the skilling and in the entrepreneurship space, the efforts made in the last 5 years to really broad base our economy, unleash the energy of entrepreneurs, create a thriving startup ecosystem, and back that up with this huge network of skilling that has been built over the last 6 years is what I inherited when I walked into these two responsibilities that were given to me by the Honorable Prime Minister. So it is almost like building on these platforms that were already delivering significantly to the country and its economy pre-COVID, and have proved during COVID, and are now in the post-COVID reality of the world looking for global value chains, trusted partners, positioning India in a very sweet spot to pursue these opportunities that are now available to it in the post-COVID reality and the post-COVID world. So, given that as a backstory, what I set out to do early on, keeping in line with the Honorable Prime Minister's broad ambitions, is to tell the stakeholders of this industry that we must reimagine our ambitions, because the opportunity post-COVID is a very different, larger, much more bigger opportunity than existed pre-COVID. So
because you think there's been a paradigm shift to some extent.
There has clearly been a paradigm shift, and the most important element of that paradigm shift is that the world's consuming countries, the world's technology consuming countries, are accelerating their digitalization, number one. Number two, that they want to source digital products and services from countries and supply chains that they can trust. And I think the world is seeking for diversification of their value chains and supply chains, and that is exactly where India finds itself. And I think the entrepreneurship, the startup ecosystem that the Prime Minister's policies over the last 5 years have unleashed are in a very good position today to in a sense, capture, exploit, and grow on the back of this new world, if you want to call it that.
So you use some words that I'm going to keep coming back to: trust, partnerships, building partnerships,
Correct.
building that. Those are all very essential things, and I'm going to come back to that. But let's just look at the ambition first of all, and the fact that, as you correctly said, COVID is a paradigm shift. And people doubted that you could have a digital world or work from home or virtual. There are lots of these things which you wouldn't have believed possible till now. Do you think India is in a position to leapfrog many stages in development, because we could perhaps move faster into a digital economy, digital futures than some of the other countries?
I surely believe that, Vikram, because one of the things that I am confronted with when I speak to and engage with almost all of the stakeholders in this digital economy, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're large tech companies, whether they're foreign multinationals, foreign companies, all of them say, their instinctive response to my call to reimagine, reset their ambitions is, no, but haven't we missed the bus? Yeah. For example, in the electronic space, when I say it is a $1.5 trillion market and we are at about, let's say, $80 billion, despite the fact that last 4 years we have tripled our electronics production, people say, isn't that train a train that is way too fast for us to try and get on? And I say, I think we should stop obsessing about the velocity of somebody's train and focus on increasing the velocity of our train. And that opportunity is a real opportunity, and it exists. So there is, of course, when you tell entrepreneurs and businesses that have been used to a certain comfortable, steady state business model, and you ask them to wake out of that, get out of that little complacency of what they believe is the normal, and urge them to look at this new post-COVID normal, which is huge amounts of disruptions in supply chains, huge amount of changes in the value chain, the huge amount of opportunities arising out of migration of electronics manufacturing from some countries to other countries, that we need to now get much more proactive. And I've used the phrase that this is the Y2K moment for the Indian digital space.
Yeah.
That just like our software companies got a step function jump during Y2K, and you remember that, Vikram, that for the digital space, the next 2 to 5 years represents a huge opportunity to do a step function jump.
And sometimes there is an advantage in being slightly late to the party because things have not been set into place. And I'm going to give you one example.
Yeah, it's possible.
You could possibly have more UPI moments. Now, the fact that India was perhaps not entirely banked means that we've been able to take the Jam Trinity, the Janadhar accounts, the Aadhaar cards, mobile phones, and use them to create a completely new stack.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right that not having legacy sometimes is a good thing, because legacy sometimes tends to slow you down when you want to make these changes and abrupt strategic pivots. So in a lot of these, in a lot of ways, the proliferation of the internet, the digitalization of the government of India that was launched in 2014 by the Digital India movement, the increasing digital adoption during COVID in areas like health, fintech, education, and skilling shortly, it's clear that the internet in India is not just about surfing and watching Netflix and watching YouTube. It is really about material daily functions of a citizen being met, whether it is studying by a student or skilling by a youth or a housewife shopping or working online, the head of the family or the member of the family remote working. The internet has now become an economic lifeline.
Like we have built a payment stack, like there's an India stack, which is really good for payments and might completely change the way business is done.
Sure.
Is that something that you would encourage? There's no reason why we in India cannot create other similar stacks, technology-driven stacks, which then become a model not just for India, but can be used everywhere in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And I completely think that Aadhaar, as this government had implemented it with the legislation and being part of a fundamental layer in the stack that we then went on to build, whether it's the India stack or the fintech stack, is the way to go when the government is increasingly rapidly accelerating its digitalization. So you will see more and more standardized sort of platforms. That means many platforms will proliferate, where they're private platforms or public platforms, but they will all sit on an harmonized data management and intermediation standard. And I would accept if somebody made an argument today, you haven't made it yet, but I'm anticipating it, and I'm preempting that in some sense, that standard does not exist today. Those standards don't exist across various applications and various services. And that is precisely what we are doing in the 1,000 days.
And that's one of the things that can come up with partnerships, which is what I'm about to come to. But let's just touch on the question of trust there.
Yes.
I think one of the most important parts on that is, why have we been able to do vaccination so successfully and it got to 100?
Absolutely right.
It's because people trust that, all right, fine, the vaccines will work. You don't have vaccine hesitancy to that same extent. When it comes to cyber security, cyber crime, is my data safe? Is my Aadhaar going to be misused? Some of those questions.
Right.
That aspect of trust is really important. So what can we do to make sure that people trust technology? So
from the get-go, and you will see in the 1,000-day plan, in the broad 6 topics that we are focused on in METI, we've said that as far as we are concerned, that is the Prime Minister's direction, that the internet in India will always be open, safe and trusted, and accountable. There are 3 attributes to policy making as far as we are concerned. That the internet shall always be open. And what I mean by open is that no nobody, no state, no government, no big tech platforms can ever become a force that will in any way dilute the openness of the internet. Number one. Number two, because of the proliferation of public services and the nature of the Indian user, which ranges from a child to a woman to a man to a pensioner and to an elderly, the internet has to be, and our policy making has to assure that the internet is always safe and trusted. And that goes to cybercrime, cybersecurity and so on. And the last one is that whoever today, and you know, I was involved in the early days of the building of the internet when I was in the US. And internet was this utopia, you know, as was envisaged, that it was this great land where everybody would be communicating, exchanging ideas. But we've also known that internet now is becoming also a place of user harm, crime, criminality. So accountability of those who have commercial platforms on the internet to their users is a third aspect of our public policy objectives. So it is clearly our determination and it is our focus in our mission that the internet in India shall grow. India will become the largest connected country in the world. But in India, the internet will always be, unlike China and unlike other countries, it will always be open, it will always be safe and trusted. And on the internet, whoever does anything will be accountable, shall be accountable to the users that he or she serves.
So I want to come to skilling a little later, but the entire question of education, therefore, will also be providing information, because as you're taking these technologies and these other things to 1.3 billion people,
right,
you will have people who don't completely always understand. So just wanted to take up on one of the things that you said on the Y2K. Now, Y2K became an opportunity for India, but then subsequently the IT industry moved up the value chain. Do you think for India now we should be really looking and moving up the value chain? We should not be just a mobile economy where mobile phones are. We should be saying that they are a digital economy at the higher levels, higher up
absolutely.
the value chain.
No, I think our understanding of the $1 trillion digital economy is not doing more of the same. It is doing more of the same and more of many new things. And these are not new things that we've cooked up in METI. It is what the world today is requiring urgently at a fast rate because of the post-COVID realities of digitalization of the world. Every corporate, big or small, every government, big or small, is now in a race to digitalize its governance, its functions, its services, its businesses. And the business models of every company in the world is going through a huge disruptive transformation. And that plays to the strengths of India. The next wave of computing performance is going to come from software optimization, semiconductor design, electronic systems design and innovation. And those are all, by the way,
comes up with a quantum computer.
Yeah, okay. We'll wait for that to come up.
We'll
wait for that to come up. But in that intermediate time, we have an opportunity because all of these design innovation skills play to India's strength.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, earlier we were software providers, and now we can, in the next 5 to 7 years, be software providers, we can be semiconductor design providers, we can be ER&D providers, we can be electronic systems design providers, and we can be electronics manufacturing services providers. So there is a whole new layering of opportunities on top of what our core capability was for the last 15, 20 years.
Right. If this ambitious vision has to be realized, what we seem to be hearing from the government is that the government feels this is not something that the government can do by itself.
Absolutely.
It has to be done in partnership with the private sector. It has to be done in partnership with entrepreneurs. And this is something that has to be built together. Am I correct in saying that's the vision?
Absolutely. I mean, I can assure you that nobody has any illusion in METI that we are going to build the $1 trillion digital economy. We are evangelists. We are advocates of what opportunities exist there. It is our job to work in partnership, evangelize, advocate, support, encourage, morale boost, whatever you want to call, entrepreneurs. And these entrepreneurs could be existing entrepreneurs, these could be new entrepreneurs. And if we are today adding 2 unicorns at the rate of 2 unicorns every month in the year 2021, when the world has still not gotten out of COVID, it tells you the kind of energy and potential and passion that exists in India today to grow, to get prosperous, and to create opportunities for themselves. So I think we are banking on the fact that In 2014, 2015, there was a set of policies by this government that have unleashed entrepreneurial energy, entrepreneurial spirit, and we as MeitY and the government of India will work in partnership to support that and grow that.
Now, one of the things which you are also handling in a sense is skilling, and that's a very crucial part of it, because yes, you are driving digital literacy, that is fine, but also we need to be turning out millions and millions of people who are employable, who have the actual skills that industry needs.
Correct.
That must be something that you're devoting a lot of time to.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I've been asked this question since July 7th. It's like a parent is asked, which is your favorite child? I hate to say which is my favorite ministry, but I think I can say that I'm very excited by the skilling responsibility that the Prime Minister has given me, because it completely and directly goes to the heart of transforming the life of a young person or a young woman or a young man in India. And I think, and I'll give you an example. Just a few weeks ago, I was sent to Jammu and Kashmir. And because I'm the skilling minister, I went to many educational institutions and training centers. And at one training center, I was talking to kids, and a group of 7-8 young women walked up to me and very confidently walked up to me and said, "So we want to talk to you about our education." So I said, "Tell me." And I actually thought that they would say something about security, and because I was in Jammu and Kashmir, and that is the conventional wisdom. And these girls turned to me, these ladies turned to me and said, "In our polytechnic, we want computer programming, we want electronics, and currently we are only being offered mechanical engineering, civil engineering, and something else." So, and they were actually keen, they were focused on their life, their opportunities that would come from these areas of information technology, and they were interested in skilling themselves. They did not want any free ride, they didn't really want any SOPs. They were basically, the narrative was very, very simple, and if you analyze that, it is very, very powerful in that they were just saying, "Teach me what I want to learn, because that is the gateway for my future life choices." And I think this is the mood in the country today, where the youth are looking for skilling as a gateway to employability. They are looking for skilling and specific skilling that will lead them to other opportunities and growth. And there on 15th of July, the Honorable Prime Minister directed us in the context of post-COVID to come up with a new approach. And we have designed it. It is now going to go through public consultations, and which is the norm in our government, that we will consult with the stakeholders. And we hope that we will have a very new model which will have higher participation from industry at various levels of skilling, from the lowest level to the highest level, so that industry becomes a deeply involved stakeholder, and that skilling will be a much more defined, definite roadmap to employability and entrepreneurship.
All right, one last word from you. If anything you want to tell the people who are watching this, how do you build a new world with partnership, with proper skills, with entrepreneurship, while dealing with the problems around privacy and...
Yeah, I'm not big on saying things, but I just want to say this, and I'll draw the attention of your viewers to something that the Honorable Prime Minister said on August 15th. He said, "Yahi samay hai, yahi Bharat ka samay hai." And he said that, it's a very profound statement, because he obviously sees things at a level that we don't get to see, because at a higher level he gets to see what things are and how things are moving. But I firmly believe that we have landed through a lot of hard work and determination, and of course the resilience shown during COVID, as demonstrated by this billion-shot achievement on October 21st. We have put India at a place where there is tremendous opportunity for growth going forward. Tremendous. And I don't mean only in technology space, or I don't mean only in the electronic space. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity as the world looks for trusted manufacturing, trusted partners in their value chain. And so I just want to add by saying this is the time that slogan of the Prime Minister we take to heart, which is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, and Sabka Prayas. We are all in it together. If we are all in it together, the government, the industry, the youth, in a framework of partnership and trust, we can truly realize this promise of New India.
Chandrasekhar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I think you've given us lots to think about.